Right, and a big cheer as the teams finally come out. Kick-off having been delayed at 15 minutes here at Selhurst Park. A bright, sunny November afternoon as Crystal Palace take on Tottenham Hotspur Division 1 game. A very big crowd indeed here at Selhurst Park. And I'm sure many eyes today will be on Crystal Palace's £1 million signing. Nigel Martyn, the England beekeeper, finally signed in midweek from Bristol Rovers. And very calm he has been all week about this tremendous transfer. He actually played many games for Bristol Rovers, and Crystal Palace will pay a further £100,000 if, as Steve Coppell confidently expects, Nigel Martyn plays for the England full team. So a lot of pressure on him today. He says that the biggest crowd he's ever played before is 23,000 in a Bristol derby, but there certainly are at least as many as that today, and probably quite a few more. Let's not forget, though, some other players on the Palace team. In particular, we still have the Mark Bright, Ian Wright duo. There's Ian Wright there, going through a bit of a drought at the moment. In fact, the Wright-Bright partnership has only yielded one goal in the last 5 games, but the sort of combination that can strike at any moment, and the Spurs defence will have to keep a careful eye on both of them today. Turning to the Spurs team, bit of a strange look about them today. Missing quite a few players, including Steve Sedgley, Terry Fenwick, Pat Van Den Hauwe and Naeem, amongst others. And they've actually dropped Paul Allen to substitute today, along with Paul Walsh. So there we have the man who's always in the news, who can't get away from Gaza. Paul Gascoigne recently became an author of a Christmas book and criticised by his manager last week, in fact, for only playing from the neck downwards rather, in that 1-0 home defeat against Wimbledon. But on his day, capable of turning any game, and on his last visit to Selhurst Park 4 weeks ago against Charlton, he turned the game with a memorable goal in Tottenham's 3-1 win. So Gaza out to show Bobby Robson he should be in the full England squad. There's a picture of Paul Stewart, recently returned from a spell of suspension, and he's still desperately keen to justify that 1.7 million tag. Match officials now in the middle, and they're being today's mascots, and we actually have 3 mascots here today. Derek Matthews, Andrew Cowlard, and also James Rose, the 3 matchday mascots for this big game at Selhurst Park today. With them then the 2 captains, Gary Mabbott and Jeff Thomas, and today's match officials, one of our most experienced referees, Mr. Joe Worrell, and the 2 linesmen, Mr. R. Coton and Mr. A.C. Williams. Palace at the moment in 16th position in Division 1, Tottenham in 9th position. Both teams desperate for a win to revive flagging fortunes, and tremendous atmosphere, almost reminiscent of that day at the end of last season when Palace beat Blackburn 3-0 to earn a place in the top flight, and immediately started off with a very long ball out by Andy Gray, which Mark Bright is unable to control. And that means a first touch for Eric Forsveds, Tottenham's Norwegian keeper, who himself had a very high-profile debut, featured in the televised league match against Nottingham Forest, and dropped one which slipped through his hands after just a few minutes, but he seems to have settled down since. And Ian Wright on the break now. Ian Wright forcing the Spurs defence wide. Still Ian Wright, Mitchell Thomas there with him. Wearing number 2, but playing on the more accustomed left-hand side of the park. Eddie McGoldrick running that one into touch. And the goal kick came from Paul Stewart, beaten to Thomas, but picked up in the middle of the field by David Howells. Played back to Gary Stevens. On to Howells, but he's beaten to that by John Pemberton in there very quickly. First tussle there between McGoldrick and Thomas comes out the better. Nigel Martyn taking his time with this goal kick, and she only seems to touch the ball, but it goes an enormous distance. And a hefty challenge there. Andy Gray going in rather late, and some Spurs players not too pleased with that challenge. I think the unlucky player on the ground is Howells. And referee Worrell of the opinion that that was rather a reckless challenge, and despite the pleas from Andy Gray, it very much looks as if his name is going to go into the book. So Worrell determines to assert his authority on the game straight away. And happily Howells is fit to continue, and I'm sure he'll run that off for a few minutes and forget about it as he gets in the thick of things. Free kick as a result, though, to be taken by Gary Stevens. Played forwards. And Mitchell Thomas actually said recently that he does prefer to play in midfield, and certainly playing quite far forward at the moment for Tottenham. Gazza on the ball. And if there is one criticism of Paul Gascoigne, it is that he could be a better team player. Tried to take on 2 or 3 defenders on that occasion, and already getting familiar chances risen from the home crowd. Pemberton up the line. It's on Alan Pardew, trying to find Mark Wright. Not quite doing that though. And Gascoigne in possession again and dispossessed again. Eddie McGoldrick getting the ball. This time faced by Gascoigne, trying to win the ball back. And seemed a fair enough tackle to me. Gascoigne dropping into the penalty area. The ball bypassing him, going to Mark Wright. Faced by Polston, out to Eddie McGoldrick. Got Pemberton behind him. And first time cross, what he intended, but he finds Mark Wright, shadowed by 4 Spurs players. Eddie McGoldrick getting a deeper cross in this time. Ian Wright's getting there and lays the ball back. Just ahead of Goody Bergson. The ball played in by Andy Gray, away by Mitchell Thomas, sliding header. And calmly out by Howells to Gascoigne. And he won't be worried by that sort of reception. A good ball through to Paul Stewart, and a lot of space on the left-hand side. Pemberton getting back to cover him. Stewart going to the penalty area. And puts the ball through, upward ball there, and Jed Thomas getting there just before Nigel Martyn at the expense of a corner. Paul Stewart then putting in one of those teasing low crosses that defenders dislike so much. Well, I thought but the referee has spotted something. It is in fact the linesman's flag which indicates offside. A long high goal kick out to the right, flicked on there by Mark Wright, but Thomas getting in there before McGoldrick, trying to create space for himself. He's got Polston inside. Some ways back to Polston. Polston inside to Paul Gascoigne, who seems to be cropping up everywhere at the moment. And he strides away from Mark Wright, playing the ball forward to Gary Lineker, and Hopkins fanning Lineker as Lineker turned him. Players over the ball. Gascoigne in some ways. In some ways leaving it now to Gascoigne. Playing for his free kicks. Biddle has had his defence on that occasion and manages to catch Gary Lineker onside by that delay in the taking it. And a chance almost for Lineker. Pardew beat him to it. And a quick cross in then, confidently dealt with by Nigel Martyn. Cross coming in from Bergson. Awkward bouncing low cross, but no problem for Martyn. And a quick goal kick taken, but Gascoigne regains possession of Spurs. Gascoigne charging forward again, so loves to do this. Past 2 or 3 tackles, still Paul Gascoigne. And Ian Wright unable to tackle him. Gascoigne trying to force his way inside, and much to Gascoigne's displeasure, the referee waving play on. Looks like one instance if he'd found a way through, but it's eventually tackled. And Palace's turn to break now. Alex Dyer bringing that one down nicely. Alex Dyer faced by Stevens, playing the ball inside to Ian Wright. Getting the better of Polston. Ian Wright cutting inside, but Polston recovers. And seemed to handle the ball as he fell. Chance for Eddie McGoldrick, and just wide. Palace's first real break. Involved Dyer, it involved Wright. Polston stumbles, tried to regain possession of the ball, eventually breaking Freddie McGoldrick. Tried a first-time shot, but just slicing the ball wide off Forsted's left-hand post. So a good break there by Palace. McGoldrick beaten again by Thomas. Samway's first-time ball. Gets the ball back, plays it forward. Referee Worrell getting in the way, allowing Andy Gray to pick up the pieces and place the ball out to Alex Dyer on the left. Faced by Goody Bergson. Cuts inside, favoured left foot. Right by Mark Wright, but just to help him. And McGoldrick coming in, but Thomas neatly past him. Thomas recently signed a 3-year contract for Spurs. Certainly enjoying his game at the moment. Finds Gary Lineker. And Gary Lineker's wayward pass cut out. Jeff Thomas, neat and composed, finding Mark Dennis. Mark Dennis picking the ball up, putting it onto his left foot. Chasing down the line. Finds Mark Wright. Mark Wright chasing the ball down. Adam Pardew getting in there. And at last, Ian Wright gets the ball. Ian Wright cutting inside. Again, never feeding him to it, but that time illegally, says the ref. Free kick then to Palace, about 10 yards outside the Spurs penalty area. Forstad telling the ball exactly where he wants it positioned. A 3-man Tottenham wall. Vinny Samway's now also going to join that wall. Andy Gray yet to score this season for Palace, a bit of a free kick specialist. He certainly scored from this range before. It may be in his mind to test Forsted's. So Andy Gray it is. Charges up to take this one, but a gentle chip by him. Mitchell Thomas before everyone and picking the ball away for a corner. I think many people in the ground on that occasion expected a typical Andy Gray blast. But he fooled everyone with the most delicate of chips, and Mitchell Thomas in there to retrieve the situation. So corner to Palace, taken by Alice Dyer, in swinging corner to the near post, and Forsted's getting there, touching the ball behind. The referee originally thought it was a goal kick. The linesman overruled him. Another corner to Palace. Again, he's taken left-footed by Dyer. Again, played to that near post. Flicked on by Hopkins. Chance here for Mark Wright, and Mark Wright scores! Let's take the lead. The corner taken by Alice Dyer. Well-rehearsed routine. Flicked on by Jeff Hopkins at the near post, and up before everyone. And from 2 yards, Mark Wright nodded in. Crystal Palace taking the lead, and Mark Wright scoring his 5th League and Cup goal of the season. Just what Palace needed then, and more problems for Spurs. And Palace with another chance to break. Andy Gray tangling again with Howells. Still Andy Gray. And Howells letting Gray go, and Ian Wright will get on the end of this one. Billy Polson to it. But Tottenham somehow recover, but at the expense of another corner, and all of a sudden Tottenham's composure seems to have gone after that 21st minute goal by Mark Wright. We said before the game that the Bright-Wright partnership had somewhat dried up in the last 5 games. Sure enough, they end that sequence. And of those awkward corners, this time Spurs managed to get it away, and volleyed back by Andy Gray, but he's so annoyed with himself as that could have done justice at Twickenham. Andy Gray getting in there before Howells. Ian Wright surrounded by 3 players, and again Worrell, the referee, getting in the way, and again Palace profiting from it, playing the ball forward, and McGoldrick, who switched sides, trying to beat Bergson. Referee waving play on. Mark Wright taking possession, back to Adam Pardew, puts his foot on the ball and switches play to the right to Alex Dyer. Thomas only getting it away as far as Pemberton. Pemberton's ball forward, cut out there by Polston. Mustn't look too comfortable so far. Hopkins and Stewart going for that one. Stewart eventually laying it off to Samways. Out to Mitchell Thomas. Almost giving the ball away to Alex Dyer. Spurs rather fortunate to get a throw on that occasion. Gary Stevens. Nicely brought down by Howells. Howells, chance to shoot here. Howells scores! A lot of space in front of him, and David Howells took advantage of that and curled a very nice right-footed shot from the edge of the box. Past Nigel Martyn, so Nigel Martyn on his debut concedes a goal. And Tottenham are level. Palace are having a very short-lived lead indeed. And David Howells will be very pleased with that one. His 24th minute goal then. Cancelling out Mark Bright's earlier efforts. And he's been very much in the walls with Andy Gray earlier on, so he'll be doubly pleased. And a lot of space for Mitchell Thomas on this left-hand side. Mitchell Thomas carrying the ball across. Mark Dennis away. Only as far as Paul Gascoigne. Holding the play up. Notices a colleague offside. And a nice back flick, finding Vinny Samways. And Spurs looking disorganised a couple of minutes ago. Have suddenly found an extra spring in their stride. Gascoigne trying to take on. And that's a penalty. Pemberton badly mistiming his tackle there. And Gascoigne signalling in triumph to the Spurs contingent behind the goal. So all of a sudden, things starting to go wrong for Palace, and a very happy Spurs contingent there. So 1 minute after David Howells equalises for Tottenham, they have the chance to go 2-1 up. And the man to take the penalty is England international Gary Lineker against the league's most expensive goalkeeper Nigel Martyn. How he'd love to save this one. Lineker then to take this penalty, and it's put away in expert style. Spurs 2, Crystal Palace 1, 25 minutes of this game gone. 3 goals in the last 5 minutes, 2 of them to Tottenham though, and Gary Lineker stepping up with so much confidence and put that penalty away with a certain amount of aplomb. No mistake. On there by Bergson. Dennis taking no chances. Bergson gets up very well to that one, giving the ball away for a Palace throw. Right, neat turn. His speed too much for Gary Stevens. Into the penalty area. Ian Wright gets a low crossover, and Holston desperately clearing away for a corner. No, the ball hadn't gone off the play. Still continues. Ian Wright chance to cross it again. Mark Bright's there. Wide break for Andy Gray. Andy Gray thought about a shot, but takes it out wide. Can he get his cross in? He does. To the far post. Mark Bright is there. And that time the ball does go off for a corner. And the Tottenham player down. Can't quite see who it is. And play just held up temporarily. I think it's Bergson, in fact. Goldrick with this corner, played to the near post. Ball sped out, bizarre keeping from him, and Ian Wright's almost profiting from that error by Thorstvedt. Palace getting another corner. We'll take it again by Eddie McGoldrick. Again, floated into that near post. A lot of bodies there. Might fall for Mark Bright. Still danger for Tottenham, and Mark Bright's header just hitting the top of the bar. And Palace putting the Tottenham defence under all sorts of pressure from these dead ball situations. Mark Bright's header eventually, much to the relief of Thorstvedt, and much to his annoyance, just clipping the top of that bar and over. Time, not much doubt that Polston was leaning on Mark Bright. He's not happy with the decision. The referee Worrell just a few yards away, in no doubt. A free kick to Palace. Just on the edge of the Spurs penalty area, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if on this occasion Andy Gray or perhaps Jeff Thomas have a direct strike on goal. about 7 or 8 minutes left until half-time. Certainly would do Palace's confidence a world of good if they could get this equalising goal in that spell. There's Pardew over the ball. He's got Andy Gray. He's got Jeff Thomas there. And Andy Gray telling the ref he's not quite 10 yards back with that wall. Right, the ball played for Jeff Thomas. Strike by Jeff Thomas, but well held by Eric Forsvets. With extra well as Mark Bright was charging in as well, so if he had dropped it, all the odds would have been on a Palace equaliser. So good goalkeeping there by Forsvets. And forward there by Gary Stevens. Paul Stewart gets on the end of that one, trying to find Bergson. Dyer trying to break now for Palace, inside to Pardew. Out left to Ian Wright, nicely controlled, but unable to keep that one in. Thomas. Andy Gray in a bit of space, looks up. Not happy with what he sees. Plays it to John Pemberton, overlapping on the right. Still Pemberton. Gascoigne shadowing him. And Pemberton trying to take on Thomas now. Still Pemberton. Gets a cross in. Well played by John Pemberton. Gary Mabbott, though, miscuing his header. Will fall to Ian Wright. Back to Alex Dyer. Alex Dyer across and away by Howells. To Andy Gray. Nicely brought down. He's got Pemberton still there out on the right. He measures his cross, but hits the head of Paul Gascoigne. He's able to find Eddie McGoldrick, and his cross to the far post. Again, that's falling behind and out for a goal kick. That is there with a number of chances to put Forsford under pressure. The final cross rather wasted. That's a ball given away, but well recovered by John Pemberton, as it looks as if Lineker might be through. Thomas taking no chances. Spurs trying to slow the pace of this game down. Pemberton getting there before Lineker. Dyer, chip forward. Thomas. Gascoigne, still Gascoigne. Going one way then the other, still keeping possession and finding Bergson. Howells giving the ball away to Mark Dennis, an experienced Division 1 campaigner. Out to Ian Wright. Taking on and beating Mabbott, still Ian Wright. Dyer not able to get on the end of that. Dennis is throw into the area, but Mabbott's there, and that looks as if it might go for corner. No, it doesn't. Bergson getting in there and conceding the throw. As we approach the half-time mark. Another throw by Dennis. Bright getting his head to that one and keeping the ball in, and eventually it finds its way back to the throw taker, Mark Dennis. Nice bit of skill by him. Finds Alex Dyer. It's surrounded by 3 Spurs defenders. It's Dennis who eventually gets the throw in. First time shot there by Jeff Thomas. Not quite making contact as he would have wished, and it's eventually comes through at a comfortable pace for Eric Forsvets. Playing injury time now in this opening half. Thomas heading forward. Stevens, a lot of space. Referee ignoring pleas for a handball. He pumps the ball forward. Jeff Hopkins, and as Martin came out, Hopkins cleared. Hopkins again. Holston again having a foul in right. Quickly taken by Andy Gray. He's going to take on Paulson, but again Paulson gets decisive tackle in. And Pemberton's forced to try his luck. Forward, almost reaching Ian Wright, but Paulson's there again. And as he did on an earlier occasion, a calm lofted back pass by Gascoigne to Forsvets. Oh, it's Gascoigne. A bit of trickery there. Gascoigne, playing to the gallery. Back to Samways. Back to Bergson. Gascoigne again. Nicely brought down. It's good stuff here from Spurs. Ferguson in possession, faced by Dennis, and a solid tackle by the ex-star left back. Playing only his second game for Palace this afternoon, missed much of the earlier part of the season with an Achilles tendon injury. Gascoigne still in possession. Challenged by Dyer, and Pardew eventually mops up and clears, but only finds Mabbutt. And right, bringing down some ways. Spurs take the free kick to Polston. Polston now advancing forward. That's nearly all the Spurs players this afternoon. Lineker forced back by Jeff Thomas. Spurs now just trying to play out this half. Referee Worrell looks at his watch. Lots of his linesmen, so I suspect the half-time whistle is about to go. Checking his watch by referee Worrell, and there it is, the half-time whistle here at Selhurst Park. An entertaining first half which saw Crystal Palace take the lead after 20 minutes. Mark Wright heading in after a flick on from the corner by Jeff Hopkins, but Spurs hit back almost straight away. David Howells running through an almost non-existent Palace defence to equalise after 24 minutes, and just a minute later Paul Gascoigne a penalty. Lineker putting it away in expert style. So the half-time score, Palace 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2. We're all set to start then for the second half. Crystal Palace trailing Tottenham by 2-1. Referee Worrell checking with his officials. Everything seems to be okay. It's Tottenham to kick off this second half. What certainly looked impressive in the first half was the way the Tottenham players were working so hard for each other off the ball. Midfield players supporting attackers, and quick as you like, back to support their defence. And in this, Jeff Hopkins almost letting in Paul Stewart, and Jeff Hopkins forced to handle that ball, and referee Worrell noticed it. And immediately, an early problem for Palace. And certainly is Paul Gascoigne shooting range. The confidence he displayed in the first half, I'm quite sure he may fancy his chances with this. And Howell also over the ball as referee Worrell waves the Palace wall back. Gascoigne, Samways both going for it. Samways leaving it for Gascoigne. Gascoigne shoots, but straight at Nigel Martyn. No problems at all. 6'2" frame of Nigel Martyn there, equal to that free kick by Paul Gascoigne. Upright, again beaten by Polston, and the ball will fall for Gascoigne. That time, Mark Dennis getting in there very hard and almost setting up Ian Wright, but the linesman's flag up. And I think Mark Dennis on that occasion thought to himself, I think we've had enough of the Paul Gascoigne show this afternoon. And the linesman's flag beating Ian Wright, getting in on the end of that, Mark Dennis. Allsmith then pumping the ball forward, looking with Stewart. Might fall through to Lineker. Mark Dennis there again, and before Gascoigne can do it, so can I, he says. Confident flick back to Nigel Martyn, who takes another of those long, high goal kicks. And Mitchell Thomas feeding McGoldrick to that one, the ball falling for John Pemberton. Putting Mark Wright off on a run, shadowed by Polston. Mark Wright trying to get his cross in. It comes off the knees of Polston. It's a goal to Palace. Swinging corners from Alex Dyer, trying to find Jeff Thomas, but away by Tottenham. Back out by Gray to Alex Dyer. Cross there to the far post, but well behind that far post, given away for a goal kick from Tottenham. And the Spurs bench looking just as crowded as ever. I'm just wondering how they've all managed to squeeze in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And Terry Venables looking quite serious on the extreme right, but must be quite pleased with the way this match is going against one of his former clubs. Andy Gray trying to set Ian Wright off. Ian Wright on the end of this one. What can Ian Wright do? Ian Wright tries to shoot, but blocked by Gary Stevens. It's a good defensive cover there by Gary Stevens. So the Palace crowd starting to get behind their team. John Pemberton launches himself into a long throw, and a lot of bodies up for that one. The ball eventually running for a corner. David House, I think, unsure whether it was a corner or a goal kick, deciding to let it run. Referee Wall's decision, a corner. Again by Dyer, but safely gathered by one or two shaky moments this afternoon, the Norwegian keeper, but generally has looked pretty secure in the top of the goal. Got there by Bergson. Ruling with an elbow was used. And evidence that a substitute is about to be used by Palace. It's like John Solarco getting changed. Dennis in the action. Again, Palace giving the ball away. And really, Tottenham establishing quite a stranglehold on this game. Even rival Solarco, who's returned to Palace recently after a very successful loan spell at 3rd Division Swansea. Attempt to challenge this dominance the Spurs are enjoying. Andy Gray, but Howell's in there very quickly. Goal's given him a lot of confidence. Lineker on the ball, looking for support. Spurs so strong in holding the ball until support arrives. Howell there. Stevens. Looking for Mitchell Thomas, and Pemberton in there well, but all he can do is put it out for a throw. Stewart. Finding some ways a lot of space, plus time ball forward, so nearly finding Howells, but cut out by Pemberton. Looking for Ian Wright, and gets to him, but it's there between Paulson and Wright. The Wright are ruling. Wright was the culprit, and as we speak, the Palace substitution is about to be made. It looks like Alex Dyer, the player who's coming off. Indeed it is. So a very early substitution in the second half. Just 8 minutes gone. Palace bringing on John Solarco. Impressed all in his stay at Swansea and featured in Swansea's heroic cup tie against Panathinaikos. John Solarco, one of Swansea's scorers as they went down 3-2 in Athens. Very direct, left-sided attacking player. Stewart and Thomas, that's been a fairly even contest this afternoon. As far as Dennis calmly plays that ball into Thomas and lofted forward. Trying to find Mark Wright. Gary Mabbott seemingly climbing over Mark Wright. Referee Warren of the Appalled had long gone, and ways play on. And Spurs still content to play a possession game. Neat first time passing. Continuing there with Howells to Gascoigne. Cutting inside. Gascoigne running at the Palace defence. Laying it off for Paul Stewart. Paul Stewart still in the action, but Palace eventually managing to clear. John Pemberton out to Mark Wright. He's got Solarco behind him, and Solarco is first touch of the game. John Solarco returning to league action with Palace. He's faced by Gascoigne, who's been everywhere this afternoon, and Gascoigne it is, who gets a tackle into concede a corner. No complaints about the Gascoigne work rate this afternoon. Corner to be taken by McGoldrick. Fires it in. Force-bet there, and under pressure from Jeff Hopkins, he still manages to clutch on. We don't think the Norwegian people was too worried about that challenge. In some ways. Gascoigne, more possession stuff from Spurs. Howells, chip forward. Gascoigne's on the end of that one. Chance for Gascoigne to loft it over Martyn. Phil Gascoigne, the ball all over the place and eventually retrieved by Nigel Martyn. And a tap on the head from Gascoigne to Martyn. Good throw, release to Mark Dennis. Mark Dennis advancing. Solako. Solako trying to take on Bergson, cuts inside. Still Solako. Forward to Ian Wright, but that's read by Stevens. We're giving back to John Solako, going outside Bergson. And John Solako got in, of course, a few problems for the Spurs defence, winning a corner on that occasion. Quickly taken, short corner from Solako to McGoldrick. McGoldrick's cross in. Thomas on the end of that one. Chance for Ian Wright, a brilliant save by Force-bet. Good to everyone as if Ian Wright had got the equaliser as he put the ball in spectacular style just inside Eric Force-bet's left-hand post, but a fist was stuck out and diverted for a corner. That is so near to equalising. Brilliant play by the Norwegian. Lako's corner, played deep. Listed away, not far though, and the ball played in by Pemberton. Dennis. Played out to Solako on the right. Pemberton. Played forward, Ian Wright in a bit of space. Feeding Polson. Ian Wright lining up a shot, but blocked. Might fall for Mark Wright. Mark Wright will score! Dennis has equalised. Mark Wright's second goal of the game. The ball played forward by Ian Wright to Mark Wright. And Mark Wright goes over to acknowledge his striking partner Ian Wright. Save from Ian Wright, then has to face Mark Wright. The ball bobbles off the knees of Force-bet, but rebounded nicely for Mark Wright. He said thank you very much, put the ball in the back of the net from a range of 2 yards. Steve Coppell encouraging his side after that equaliser. And they'll be hoping that Palace don't concede a goal as quickly as they did last time they scored. No chance for obstruction there. I think it case to Stewart running into Hopkins. 62nd minute goal then by Mark Wright, making the score. Crystal Palace 2, Tottenham 2. And the atmosphere all of a sudden drastically raised here at Selhurst Park. And this game certainly could go either way now. Right, looking for his hat-trick. Force-bet safely gathers. And Spurs looking so much in control. Almost sending in Ian Wright and then paying the price a few seconds later. As Mark Wright read Ian Wright's full pass expertly. Thomas heading forwards. Right, neatly laid back to Andy Crane. And Ian Wright in the thick of things. Getting there behind Gary Stevens. And seems to be brought down, but the referee and the linesman deciding that it's a free kick to Tottenham. And when Ian Wright is in this sort of form, he's a handful for the best of defences and all sorts of problems when he's on the ball at the moment. Bergson. But that's the sort of pass Gary Lineker wants, given away. And that composure has suddenly deserted Spurs, as it did for a short while in the first half. And Pardew is headed over comfortably together by Gary Nevins. Paul Stewart, but again Thomas getting the better of him, and Dennis completing the clearance. 25 minutes of the second half gone. Palace 2, Tottenham 2. Tottenham on the attack in the shape of Paul Gascoigne. And a lovely ball, finding Howes in a lot of space. Holding on to possession. And well forced back by the Palace defence. But Gascoigne's there again. Bit of trickery, fooling Andy Gray, and Andy Gray getting rather frustrated. And some good forceful tackles on Paul Gascoigne, and an ugly melee developing over there. Andy Gray's in the middle of it. Clifford Royal doing his best to clear it up, but Smith is still swinging. Just the sort of thing we don't want to see, and John Pemberton dragging Paul Gascoigne away from the action. And still, one or two players getting involved. Mark Dennis, I see him there. Steve Coppell has actually come onto the pitch to calm his players down. And certainly Paul Gascoigne has been spoken to. And this is one of the reasons, of course, why Bobby Robson is so averse to picking him for the full squad. He does seem to get himself involved in so many of these situations. And the referee having strict words with him. As yet, I can't quite see what the referee is going to do. It looks as if he will escape with a yellow card. And Pemberton is about to be spoken to, standing there like a naughty schoolboy. Kick to the edge of the Dennis. His header falling for Andy Gray. Nice play. Out to John Pemberton. Long ball. Mabbutt always there before anyone else. The ball given away by Spurs again. Not keeping possession like they were earlier on. And Adam Pardew set up by Mark Dennis. But that's a ball straight to Paul Gascoigne. And he sets up Paul Stewart. Paul Stewart charging through, and this is if Pemberton brought him down just on the edge of the area. And Pemberton, no, in fact it's Jeff Hopkins, a very good challenge indeed. He's going to be booked. The other card being produced. Not only will Hopkins be worried about another few penalty points, it'll be a realisation of the fact that this is perfect scoring range for Paul Gascoigne. And Alan Pardew will be reflecting ruefully on that score that he gave away in the centre circle, which led to this incident. So, testing time for Nigel Martyn. Telling his ball exactly where he wants them, shouting out instructions all the time. It's Samways though, and the ball gets a wicked deflection, and Spurs go into the lead. A wicked deflection, and how unlucky for Palace. 32 minutes then of this second half gone, and Tottenham go into a 3-2 lead. Their supporters are jubilant. It wasn't Gascoigne who took the free kick, but it was Samways. So another test of character now for Palace, seemingly having taken control of this game from Tottenham. They now fall 3-2 behind. Going into the net at an agonisingly slow rate. Gascoigne, he'll be in good spirits again now. This is through ball to Stewart to set up that free kick. coming forward for. Brings back memories of a game a few years ago here when Spurs won 4-3. 13 minutes or so remaining. Palace desperately seeking out an equaliser. Pemberton. Forsford comes out for that one. He loses it though, and eventually, but the referee ruling that Forsford was impeded. Relief again in that Spurs bench. Palace though keep on attacking, but the ball is given away, and just can't afford to do that at this level. Bergson, Samways needing to play, releasing Paul Gascoigne to Gary Lineker. Had quite a quiet game this afternoon. Lineker caught by a late challenge from Mark Dennis. And Lineker not liking that one bit. Gary Lineker certainly not one to play at. Lineker hobbles away after treatment, not looking too comfortable. Spurs take the resulting free kick, and Gascoigne, what's he up to this time? Just can't be playing it back to Forsford. Mark Dennis will reach that one, but rather miscues his header. It'll fall for Andy Gray, brought down, challenged by Howells. He blows free kick to Palace. A minute ticking by. 10 minutes left of this game. Spurs 3, Crystal Palace 2. Into the Spurs penalty area. Hopkins up. The ball might fall for Andy Gray. Andy Gray thinking about a shot. Andy Gray shoots, but straight at Forsford. Lineker, his header miscued, and Lineker still looking in a bit of discomfort. Palace take his throw, but Mitchell intercepts. Stewart getting in there before Pardew, with the ball given away to Mark Bright. And the Spurs bench urging on their players to hold on to this lead. Thomas away. Stewart inside. Samways away. And impeded on the way by a combination of Andy Gray and Alan Pardew. Nothing going for Palace at the moment. Pemberton trying to get past Stewart, he does. Pemberton. Hopkins picking it up. Hopkins blocked there by Stewart. Thomas not seeing the offside flag, sprinting desperately to stop Gary Lineker getting in on the end of that one. Cool and composed at the back this afternoon, Jeff Thomas. The edge of the area. Mark Bright fits on, chance for Ian Wright, but just too far ahead of him. And Ian Wright cannons into the advertising hoardings. Another chance gone. Certainly would bring the house down were he to complete it today. Pemberton needlessly putting that one into touch. Gascoigne on the ball again, played forward to Howes, played forward to Vinnie Samways, ball across and just wide. Good break forward there by Vinnie Samways. Another of these players at White Hart Lane that's been on the fringes of a regular first team place. Look good today. No complaints from Lineker though. And it very much looks as if Lineker is about to be substituted. Spurs taking no chances. And another forward to take his place, Paul Walsh coming on. Paul Walsh about to take the place of Gary Lineker. He's probably better known for his hairstyle rather than the amount of goals he scores. He's very popular with the White Hart Lane fans. And he did have the particular pleasure of scoring a goal against Arsenal earlier on in the season. Quick forwards. Jeff Thomas now up there helping his attack. Jeff Thomas trying to beat Ferguson to that one. Ferguson coping well under pressure. Puts the ball up the line where Gary Lineker would have been. And Paul Walsh is charging up there now, but Pemberton getting there before him, and finds Jeff Thomas now staying upfield. Solarco back to Thomas, first time cross. Upright, heading on. Mitchell Thomas away. Walsh and Gascoigne going for that. Walsh picking it up. Faced by Hopkins, speeding him to it. And Dennis forward to Solarco. Inside, Thomas in a bit of space. Looks up, plays the ball forwards to Ian Wright, but Polston calmly to Mitchell Thomas. As the minutes run out for Palace. About a couple of minutes plus any time the referee has added on. That's all Palace have got now to get the equaliser. Pemberton heads forward, but only as far as Mitchell Thomas. And back to Forceface. We're quite happy to go on to possession now. And Spurs very near to completing the away win of the season. And both those away wins would have come here at Selhurst Park. Having won 3-1 here against Charlton 4 weeks ago, and now 3-2 up against Crystal Palace with just a couple of minutes left. Pemberton, past Stewart, that's the cross in, and Wright beaten to it by Mabbutt. Thomas, maybe stick forward to Stewart, to Samways. The Spurs so often able to play themselves out of trouble because they have the ball players to do it. Given away on that occasion, trying to overdo it, and Andy Gray trying to get to the byline, trying to get a cross in, but Thomas's tackle coming off Gray, and Spurs have the throw. Now playing time that's been added on by the referee. And that's always hard to estimate. Hopkins forward. Ian Wright goes down under that challenge from Mabbutt. Referee waits play on. Ferguson. Really this is Whitney Palace's last chance. Mark Dennis, who's taken a lot of long throws this afternoon, is playing right into the area. Hopkins flicks on, didn't come off that time. And Pemberton, every Spurs player behind the ball. Pemberton plays it forwards. Goldrick gets the cross in. A lot of players there, beats them all. Solarco heading back. Pardew forward, side flag is up. It also very much looks as if Terry Venables is about to put one over one of his former clubs, Crystal Palace. Tottenham leading 3-2, well into extra time. It's been added on by the referee. Can't really say injury time now, as referees add on a lot of time for what they consider to be time wasting. And that's what we're in the midst of at the moment as Tottenham break forwards. Harold sees the run by Stewart, but again he's frustrated by the linesman's flag. Not been the happiest afternoons for Stewart. And that's exactly the sort of thing for which time is added on. Gray punting the ball forwards. Flicked on by Pemberton. Chance here for Salako. Can he get the cross in? No, because Gary Maverick blocking this way, but does well to turn. Right, pushed there by Colston, it would seem, but the referee disagrees. And the referee blows up for full time. And quite a dramatic game ending with the scoreline: Crystal Palace 2, goals by Mark Bright. Top 3. Goals by Howells, a Gary Lineker penalty, and the winner, a free kick taken by Vinny Samways on the edge of the Palace penalty area. Got a wicked deflection in and cruelly trickled over the line as Nigel Martyn was wrong-footed. Once again, then the final score here at Selhurst Park: Crystal Palace 2, Tottenham Hotspur 3.